Hello, welcome to my live stream. My name's Suzanne Bryan, and we've been having a series of these live streams bi-weekly, and this is the one for December 16th, 2018. We've been talking about a sweater that we're all working on. It's called the It Takes a Guild Cardigan tutorial, and we're on the sleeves this week. Hi, Bonnie. Hi, Francois. Hi, Tracy. And another Suzanne. Hi. Anne, Pamela. Yay. Hello, everybody. So, is everybody getting their Christmas shopping done, or Hanukkah is over with now, right? I'm going up to my son's for Christmas. Hi, Susan Marie. I have some stuff for you today. Yay. So be sure to give me a thumbs up. And I'm going to have a little commercial here right at the beginning. I have, right now I think I have about 30,000 subscribers to my YouTube channel, and I'm getting a little over 200,000 views a month. Of those 200,000 views, there's 100,000 individual viewers. So that means I have 30,000 subscribers, but there's 100,000 individual viewers. So some of those people could become subscribers, especially since the average video viewing per person on my channel is 2 videos. So if they get on, they watch one and then they watch another one. So they must like what they see. So the way for me to get more subscribers, which is what YouTube judges you by how many subscribers you have, and views are important too, but all of their metrics are set on your subscriber count. When you get up to 100,000 subscribers, there's like a special YouTube club that you get to join, and they offer you more help and support in creating your work. So that's my goal. I think I'll be there maybe in 2 years at the rate that I'm going. Sooner would be better. So share my videos with your friends, encourage them to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can share my videos anywhere. You can share them on Reddit. You can share them, there's Ravelry, but there are other knitting communities online, so you can share them in any of those knitting communities, Facebook, Ravelry, any social media that you're on. You can go down to the bottom of my video and you hit the share button. Like if you look at this video right there in the middle, there's a share button, at least on my screen. It looks like a little arrow that goes like that. If you hit on that, you can actually share this video right now and it would not interrupt the video. So that's my advertisement. And then I'm wearing my Pave poncho again. My friend Ron said, yes, he did get some orders at the shop for this. So if you go to Ravelry on my poncho page, it's called Pave Poncho, P-A-V-E, Poncho. There's a link to his shop, his online store, and you can order kits for this, and it comes in 2 different colors. It comes in the color I'm wearing or in this color, which is gorgeous. So that's that. Now let's see who else is here. Natalie says she noticed my subscribers have doubled. Yes, it's hi, Carolyn. Renee, hello. Scott, hi. Teresa Brown, hello. Kathy, hello. Good morning. Another Kathy. Lori, KR. Rana, Karen, Diane, Kajunman from Yokohama, Japan. Wow. I still would like to see a map that shows where all the viewers are. Wouldn't that be fun? So I'm going to take this poncho off because it's really hot, even though it's just fingering weight yarn. And underneath it, I have this yoked sweater. Can you see this? This is a yarn that I bought many years ago in a knitting store over in Cambria, California. It's called Ball and Skein, and the lady that owned it at that time has since passed away, but it was one of my favorite knitting stores at the time. And this was one skein of yarn, one great big huge skein of hand-dyed yarn, and I think it's 50% cotton and 50% silk. It has that smell You know how you can smell silk? Have you ever smelled it? And if you can't smell it just straight like this has the silk smell. You can burn it and you can smell it. It smells like feathers. We did that this week in my Boot Camp 1 class. We burned a bunch of different fibers and looked at them to see how they burn, whether they're flammable or fire resistant, and what they smelled like. Because sometimes you have some unknown yarns in your stash, and that's one way to decide, by their burning properties, you can kind of figure out what they are. Let's see what's going on over here now. Diana. Okay, so this sweater, it's like Aran weight. I probably used like a size 10 needle on it many years ago. I probably knitted this like in 1994, 1995. And I knitted it from the top up, and I made my own design. It's like a starburst. It's like these. I have like, there's a knit 3, purl 1, and then it goes up, it turns into knit 2, purl 1, then goes up here and turns into knit 1, purl 1 up here. And when I made it, I weighed about 20 pounds less than I weigh now, and it was very fitted. But you can see now how humongous it is. It's huge, and the sleeves are way too long, see? That's because the silk and the cotton grows. Remember, we were talking about different fibers that grow. The silk, and so I actually throw this in the washer and dryer periodically to shrink it on purpose, because it gets bigger, and the more I wear it, the bigger it gets. And then it'll shrink back up to where it fits me appropriately, and then I wear it until it gets too big. And see how deep the armholes are? They're way down. Here's my armhole way up here. Here's the armhole. So what happens when the armhole's too low and you raise your arm up, watch. Do you see how it raises the whole sweater up? You really want your armhole up in your armpit. Then when you raise your arm up, it doesn't raise the sweater up. This is too deep. Now, if it were an outer garment, you're going to wear it like a coat, then yes, you want deeper armholes so it would fit over your fabric. So I'm going to take this one off now. It's like a strip show today. I put all these layers on. Oh, and my bind off was way too tight. See that? That's before I knew how to change my bind off. Okay, now I'm back together, and it's not so hot. So let's see where I am on my It Takes a Guild cardigan. I haven't finished the first sleeve yet. I've been trying really hard. And the more I try to get knitting time, the less knitting time I have, it seems like. But here's my sleeve. I have about 1 more inch to go on the brioche, and then it's going to be just right. Here's my arm. So I'm gonna knit it till it's right there. This is 2 inches. I have 1 more inch to go. Hi, Lucy. Okay, so enough of the strip show. I have some books that I'm going to show again, and I'll tell you why I'm showing them. And then we're going to answer some questions that people asked about the knit along. I love my sweater. I can't wait to get this done. But like I said, the more I try to knit on it, the more other things come up and interfere with my knitting time. Okay. So, Diana Denko, which is Knitty Girl on Ravelry, has been doing the timestamps for me, and she does a fantastic job. And then Demetria, who can't get on today, and Demetria and Delise, who is Art Lady, are 2 of my moderators. I also have Amanda, who is literary, and Renee, who is Renee Crochets. I could not do this without them, all of those people. It literally takes a guild to do this. And I thank them very, very much. And I hope you thank them too for all of their efforts, because they are the most wonderful volunteers. I just have to say that. I cannot thank them enough. Okay, Brenda asks a question over here. Brenda Bloomfield. She says, oh, Sue M. And Sue M. She's a moderator too. Yes, thank you. So Brenda Bloomfield says, Suzanne, I'm Brenda in Cordova, Tennessee. Am I too late to start my cardigan? No, there are a lot of people who haven't cast on the neck yet, but they've been swatching and following along and learning all the different techniques. You can start at any time, anytime. Now, the moderators I was talking about are the ones on the Ravelry group, but I also have moderators here, and I love them too because they watch out for those interrupting, spamming folks. And we just don't need them. We're about knitting. You know, this isn't anything controversial, anything. We don't need those kind of people. So you can start the pattern anytime. The pattern is called It Takes a Guild on Ravelry. It is $25, but for your $25, you're probably getting a couple of $100 worth of knitting lessons. There's YouTube videos that are associated with every single aspect of the sweater, along with the written directions. And then I have Q&A live stream videos just like this today, where I answer people's individual questions one-on-one. And because everyone else probably has a similar question and would like to know the answer to it. So it helps everybody when you ask questions. So Cindy's on now. She said, hey, my phone just dinged. So she just must have gotten the notice. It's 11 minutes and 12 seconds into the video. They're kind of slow. YouTube's been doing some different things. I'm not really sure what they're doing, but it seems to have really affected different parts of my channel. And they've come out with a couple little notices for YouTubers. I'm a YouTuber, I guess. I'm a knitter YouTuber, saying that they've done some adjusting on their subscribers, which affected me somewhat, not a whole lot. Another thing that I'm really worried about is that changing over the format from doing my really short videos that are on a topic, and I try to get right to the point and show exactly what you want to see without any gobbledygook before that. People really like those. And I had really resisted doing these longer videos where you see me live. Even in pre-recorded, I've only done one of those. But now I'm doing these live streams, and I accidentally fell into this because of this knit along and people asking questions. Excuse me. And I enjoy doing it. I just don't want to, excuse me, overwhelm all of my subscribers who like to watch the little bitty short snippets of knitting. I have to get a drink. Okay, sorry about that. So anyway, I'm concerned that a lot of my subscribers are people who subscribe to my channel because I have these little itty bitty short videos, and that's what they like. And I don't want to turn them off by these big long videos. So I'm going to continue doing both. I'm not giving up the little short videos because those are essential to my channel. But I think this way you get to know me a little bit, and that's kind of fun. And I get to know you by having the conversations with you. So I think we'll just divide it up. I'll probably create some sort of cover for these live streams that's continuous through them all, and then use my other cover for the individual technical videos. I'd like to continue doing the live streams even after the knit along is finished because I think it's so fun, and we can focus in on specific topics of your choice as we go. But I need to come up with like a name of what I'm calling my live streams, because it can't be ITAG knit along forever. And I'd like a name that is more relevant to actually what we're doing. So I'm open to suggestions for what I should call my live streaming. So if I did like one a week and then had the little videos in between, and then if we're doing a knit along or something like this, we can do the live streams more often as needed. So and then I have a whole video made already. It's like 4 or 5 minutes long on how to use my YouTube channel. I just need to do the wording in it. I have the video, the visual is finished, but I need to put in the talking portion of it, and I just need time to do that. But it tells you how to use my YouTube channel and how to find what you're looking for, because right now I have almost 300 videos, and it's kind of daunting just to scroll through all of them trying to find something. There are ways that you can zero right in and see exactly what you want to see, and I show how to do that in that video. So I may get that up over Christmas. So let me go look through these questions here and see what I find. It would help me, I should have said this right in the beginning, if you're going to put a question up for me that you want my eye to catch over there, maybe you could put the word question in capital letters at the beginning of your statement, and then when I'm scrolling through, I'll see the word question, and it helps me focus in, okay? That way you can continue being friendly with each other and talking to each other, and I can pick out the questions easily. So we'll develop some things like this as we go along. We're learning from each other. That's what's so cool about this. Okay, let me see. Finding some questions. This is Robbie. Hi, Suzanne. Listening while I'm cleaning, although I'd rather be knitting. Me too. And Sue says yes, and she knows what silk smells like. It definitely has a certain odor. Okay, and she reels silk sometimes. How fun. I think, Sue, you would be a very interesting person to meet in person. I could learn a lot from you, I think. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm moving, so this is from DD Scott 12. Quick question. I'm moving from Canada to Australia soon, which will give a huge change in temperature and humidity. Is there anything I need to do to compensate for it in ongoing projects? I don't know that, so you're moving from somewhere that is dry to wet or wet to dry? Is Australia dry? Is Australia like it is here in California? Anyway, the most thing that I would be worried about, two things, is your yarn, your stash, and the other is your books. So if you're going from a low humidity area to a high humidity area, you need to have somewhere to keep your books where they're not going to get humid, because they will mildew and the pages get all funky. I took some of my very nice knitting books on a vacation one time to Hawaii, and the pages got real funky, and I'll never, ever do that again. The other thing is the same about your stash. You need to find out, you need to learn about mildew, and also if there are any insects that eat yarn. In Bakersfield, California here, we do not have wool moths, so we don't have to worry about that, but we have other insects that will eat yarn, so you do need to worry about that. So if you need to keep your stash protected from that, you can buy 3 millimeter thick plastic bags. Just look for them online, 3 millimeter thick plastic bags, and that's thick enough. They're like great big giant Ziploc baggies. That's thick enough to keep insects out. But then if you live in a really humid area, you don't want to close your yarn into a plastic bag, because then you're going to get mildew. So those are the types of things you worry about. As far as your projects, it depends on just the clothing that you're going to be wearing, and you'll probably want to keep that in mind for storing them as well. Okay. We might have a reputation for heat and humidity, but we don't have your central heating, so our nights are cold. Okay. Meaning it dinged a bit ago, but our houses are generally, it's called It Takes a Gill. Now that I finished my sleeves. Okay, this is Lorraine. She says, now that I've finished my sleeves, what swatching can I start to work on? Buttonholes. So I have several videos on buttonholes, and I'm going to make a couple more. We'll put links to them. Diana will put a note for me to put links below this video on the buttonholes. You need to start, depending on what you want to use for your shawl collar and button bands. That'll all be one giant piece. It's all connected together. depending on the ribbing or whether you're going to use seed stitch, moss stitch, ribbing, brioche, whatever it is you're going to use for that, you're going to want to work some buttonholes in it and figure out which buttonholes look best. And in order to do the buttonholes, therefore, you need to have your buttons. The next, when we get on here Wednesday at noon, we're going to do Wednesdays at noon from now on, and we're going to do Sundays at 2 from now on. We've settled on those 2 times, so there'll be a system. Sunday, I will have some buttonholes to show you here live and buttons so that you can see how big of a buttonhole you need to have for specific button sizes. You don't need to have buttonholes nearly as big as you think you do. They can be very, very small and accommodate fairly good sized buttons. Okay. Okay. Brenda Bloomfield, where do I find the pattern? I looked in Ravelry by ITAG, but nothing showed up. Brenda, look under It Takes a Guild. We use ITAG as just an abbreviation, but look up It Takes a Guild Cardigan tutorial, and that's what we're doing. Oh, Diana, thank you. She says she talked me up at her spinning guild yesterday. Thank you. Let's see. Okay, Bonnie, question. Have you considered doing the live stream weekly even when we're not in the middle of a project? Yes, that's what I'm thinking. And so with that one, we'll have to decide. I think it may stay on Sunday. I think that that's a better day to get more people, although we don't have a lot of people on here today, but I suspect it's because Christmas is coming up and everybody's feeling swamped with obligations to get done before Christmas. I do want to continue doing these. I think we can pick topics and work through them, which would be very cool. Okay. Eric, first time I'm in to watch live chat. Thank you, Suzanne, for sharing it. I learned a lot. Great. Thank you, Eric. Will the videos for this knit along be available with purchase of the pattern lately? I just heard about this and don't have time to join right now. Yes, the videos are linked in my written materials. Each video has a live link that you can use if you're using it on an iPad or on your computer or some other electronic reader. It also has a QR code, so if you've printed it out into paper version, you can just use the camera on your smartphone to look at the QR code and it should take you directly to that video. So all of the videos are linked right in the timing of the section. Now, right now, this pattern is over 50 pages, so it's kind of like a book. It's not really, you're not making a specific pattern. What you're doing is you're learning how to take a fiber of your choice, a yarn of your choice, knit it up to a swatch that you like, learn how to create a schematic from your own body measurements, and then the rest of it guides you through creating a shawl collar cardigan with pockets based upon your measurements and your stitch gauge. Okay, so let me go through. And Jay Karras, question. Thank you for putting that question in capital letters. That helps me so much. Is there anyone else that asked a question that I missed? Please? Okay, question. Aline Mazuka, question. Ease on the sweater. I am to the cuff. Do you think 2 inches ease good for circumference? For the arm, yes. My arm is 2 inches ease circumference, 2 inches ease on here. Let me show you. So the way you tell is I have it hanging on me funny. I have to put the whole thing on. Okay. See the fabric here? So that's about 1 inch. I'm pinching about 1 inch. That's about 1 inch, about 1 inch, about 1 inch. So that gives you 2 inches of ease. That's just about right. Okay, anybody else? Let me see if I missed any others. Oh, Sue M says, sure, anytime. I have my own YouTube channel, Spinning the Past. Just moved, so not very active right now. Hey, Sue, that's very cool. You know what I will do is on my YouTube channel, I can link to yours and put it up over in my side thing, and you could link to mine, and we can cross-reference each other. That would be very cool. I will do that when I get off today, okay? Not in the recommended videos, but in the ones where you can actually choose which ones show up in your sidebar. Okay, let me go.
I've always wanted to be cool.
Oh, Siri always wanted to be cool. How wonderful. Let's see. Sometimes these jump. Liliana says, I just got out of my shower, so she's just catching up. Okay. Okay, I'm going to do the Ravelry questions in just a minute. I'm just going through here. Kathy Roosh, question. I'm knitting outer pockets and my cable continuation isn't smooth. Can you talk about this step? Yes. Okay, so now let's go to the questions that people submitted on Ravelry. So if you're watching this video and you're not in our Ravelry group, I have a group on Ravelry called Knitting with Suzanne Bryan. And in that group on Ravelry, there's a thread where you can ask questions for the upcoming live stream. And that gives me an opportunity to look at them in advance and be prepared to answer your question. So it's very helpful if you do that. So it's on Ravelry. It's called Knitting with Suzanne Bryan is the name of the group. And you can join the group if you want. You don't have to. In fact, we are up to 2,995 people in that group today. We're going to hit 3,000 really soon. We started that group in July of 2017. That is amazing. Hopefully, it's at a good size right now. I don't want to, I don't think we're going to have like 10,000 people or something. I'm not really looking to that. It's a manageable size the way it is right now. So let's look at the questions that were posted on Ravelry. This is from Mum Bum. She said, I'm getting ready to start the arms. I was able to use the same bust arm size when I started. However, the wrist size is significantly off for me. I have about 1.5 inches of ease at the upper arm, and I want about 1 inch at the wrist. Are there any special considerations I should think about when deciding how to space my decreases? My preference is this evenly distributed along the arm, which will mean 25 pairs of decreases over 17 inches. That's a lot of decreases over 17 inches. What I did on mine, where'd my sweater go? Where's my sweater? Oh, here it on the floor. What I did on mine is I did 15 sets of decreases. And then I did down the arm, evenly distributed. And then I decreased about 25%. I actually decreased 25% of my stitches right before I started the ribbing. So you can see that it is a little fuller. Do you see below the ribbing, how the ribbing comes in like that? I knit 2 and then knit 2 together, knit 2 together, all the way around there. And you can see what it's doing to the sleeve, but it looks okay on. So you can decrease quite a few stitches that way. And it looks okay. See, you can see where it goes in a little bit right there, but that looks okay. You can do that because I have really skinny wrists too. And I have that same problem. My wrists are always smaller. And remember, I showed you last time and the time before that you can use the bottom of your sweater. This is the ribbing on the bottom of your sweater to put around your wrist and see how many stitches do you want. So I pinch it there and then I can count how many stitches. I wanted 50 and I ended up with 67. So I reduced by 17 before I started my ribbing. Okay. Did I miss anybody else's question on here? Okay, let's go back to these. I'm trying to teach myself to not skip around so much because I know that's frustrating watching these, but that's how I am. So, okay, this is from Fiddle Beads. Suzanne, on page 50 about working on the sleeves with hand-dyed yarns, you can say you can rotate them every row rather than every other row as when working flat. 1, why do you advocate rotating every other row when working flat instead of every row? 2, if you are working with yarns that are different, wouldn't you want single rows on the body too? It depends on how different they are. If you're most people that are not trying to create stripes, you're just using two hand-dyed yarns, and you can see in my yarn that I have these orange blips, but there's also a huge difference in the shading of the gray. Do you see that? And so this is the body, and it's convenient to rotate every 2 rows because you switch the yarn every right side row. Now, there's one person in our group, Deb, I don't know if she's on here watching today or not. She may be. She wanted to rotate her yarns every row on the body. And so you have to use 3 skeins at the time in order to do that. You start out with the first skein on a right side row, and then you do a wrong skein. You do a second skein on the wrong side row. And then you have to have a third skein for the next right side row. And then here your first right side row is ready, and you pick it up and work over. So that takes 3 skeins simultaneously to work every row as changing color on the body. Whereas on the sleeve, you only have to use 2 skeins. Most hand-dyed yarns, it looks okay to rotate every 2 rows. I rotated every 2 rows on this sweater, and you don't see any striping in there because that's just how the yarn is. So it depends on your yarn. If you notice that you have too much difference or your skeins are really far apart, yes, you can mix 3 skeins at a time. Excellent question. This is Fiddle Beads again. Suzanne, what are some of the common reasons knitters split the yarn when knitting? What are the habits we should try to avoid? That's a really good question. When I'm knitting and I go over here to make a new stitch, I touch this needle to this needle. So I slide it through and I get the yarn and I have my needles touching. They're always touching. And then I slide it back, I pull the new yarn out and the stitch off, and this stitch is touching here. If you constantly keep one tip against the barrel of the other, you won't split your yarn. What happens is when you're going into the stitch and you're going through the yarn instead of picking up the yarn or going into the loop that the yarn creates. So by using your needles in that manner, and if you watch my video, Even Tension, and we can link that down here, I show you how to do that in the video, how to always keep your needles touching, never pull them apart. But if you keep the needles and you slide one on the other as you're picking up yarn and coming back out, there's no chance for the yarn to go over the tip of the needle. It keeps you from splitting your yarn. Okay, that was a great question, wasn't it? Did you like that? So Liliana says she's confused. What is she confused about? Okay, I don't know. This is Sweet Jane 11. Hi, Suzanne. I've just finished blocking and measuring my gauge swatches for the rib patterns. My question is about what size needle to use for brioche. My swatches measure brioche is 68, 6 inches equals 28 stitches with a US 2, and stockinette swatch 6 inches equals 34 stitches on a US 5. I had that same issue. So my body was worked on a 3 and I worked my ribbing on a 1, and I had to I had to decrease some stitches. I decreased 1 stitch per inch. So you're having, let me see, your difference is 6 inches, 28. So 28 divided by 6 is 4.5. And 34 divided by 6 is 5. That's about 1 stitch an inch. You're having about 1 stitch an inch difference. So when I was going across my body here, every inch, I did a knit 2 together. And then my ribbing came out just right. So yes, you have to go down needle size for sure, but then also you may need to decrease some stitches across here to make compensation, but not very much. That was a good question. This is Demetria. And she is the most, she's a very think outside the box person. And I love seeing what she's doing with her sweater. She is a risk taker. She enjoys experimenting and trying different things for the joy of learning, and I really like that. She said, I've been swatching for the reversible cuffs and came out with a way to show the cable legs on both sides of the fabric. Instead of ribbing, I'm doing moss stitch, and the intarsia leg she's doing in double knitting. What? She's so smart. That's so awesome. My question is there a way to do the tubular bind off of the intarsia legs on the intarsia color? I did it on the main color on my swatch. I don't like the interruption at the edge. This is a bad picture, but hopefully it gives you an idea. And then she showed a picture. Here's her picture. And the problem she's having is she's doing a tubular bind off here, but when she comes around here, she's getting, she doesn't like how it looks there. I think what I would do, Demetria, is I would, you know how on my sweater, my cables, so this is a 10 stitch cable pattern, but only 4 of the stitches are in the orange. When I brought them down here and I did this cable crossing, I actually reduced it to 2 stitches during the cable crossing. And then the very next row, I did a knit 2 together, so I reduced it to 1. I would do something like that with your cables right before you get to this point. And then the very last round, I would use the dark, not do the magenta, but do the dark color all the way around, then do your tubular bind off and see what you think of that. I think it would look nice. It would bring your cables down to a finished end so that they look like they're done, and then you would have your bind off, and it would be sturdier as well. Okay, this is from Amanano. Suzanne, when I knit cables, some of the stitches are not the same size. They are too large. I observe it and correct it by knitting tight when I cross, but I would like to know if there's a rule to respect to avoid these differences easily. I found on my cables when I'm crossing this way, when I'm as you're facing this. Okay, so if this is does this look like a right 2/2 right cross to you? I can't tell. I think my screen's reversed, but if you're doing a 2/2 right cross so that the left 2 stitches are going to the right, I usually find that all the stitches are of a good size when I do that. The problem is when you're doing a left cross, like it could be 3/2, it could be 2/1, 3/3, but when you're doing a left cross, that's when I notice that the leftmost stitch is usually enlarged. And that's really hard to avoid. You just have to really watch yourself when you're knitting it, because that last stitch is the last one on the needle, and the yarn that is attached to it is now below the right needle. It's no longer on the needle, it's below in the stitches that are worked, which allows it to stretch out. It can pull that yarn out. So working on the tips of your needles may help, but you may have to just use your knitting needle or a tapestry needle and pull that yarn back over into the neighboring stitches. But watch what you're doing and see, how it happens. Okay, let me finish these, and then there's some more questions online here. This is from Pamela 2708. Hello, Pamela. Do you have an opinion or experience for knitting 2 at a time sleeves for a top-down sweater? My mom always did 2 at a time for sleeves being sewn in later. I'm imagining if this method would be cumbersome moving the weight of the sweater around and could affect gauge. I don't know if it'll affect gauge, but you can see obviously that I'm doing 1 sleeve at a time. You could do 2 sleeves at a time. Now, what I do when the sleeve is long like this, you can knit on it and the sweater is laying in your lap. So the weight of the sweater is not going to affect you. It's when you're doing the first part of the sleeve that you're holding the sweater up and working on it. So the weight of the whole sweater is hanging off your work right here. But as soon as you get to the part of the sleeve where you're up here, the sweater's now resting in my lap. And I don't knit with it up here anyway. I knit with it down here. But so that I don't think the weight of the sweater is going to affect it. I think if you want to do 2 at a time, it's fine. I don't think it's going to make any difference because mostly the weight of the sweater will be in your lap. Now, one thing I've seen people have problems with is that because their whole sweater's done and they're doing the sleeve, when you're first doing this part, that means the sweater's turning back and forth as you're doing the sleeve. That might cause some wear and tear on your knitting, cause you to have some pilling. You can put your sweater in something like a bag, a knitting, something lightweight, so that it's held in that bag So when you turn it back and forth, that it's not like a pillowcase would even work. It's not like rubbing the yarn back and forth across your body. Now, I tend to wear a lot of these little light, very light t-shirt type, and they're smooth and not rough when I'm knitting, because you don't want anything rough rubbing on your knitting, because that will cause more pilling. Okay. So let me go some more here. I have one more question here. This is a really good one. This is from Susan Marie. I just finished watching the 12/9/18 Q&A live stream video. I very much enjoyed hearing about Suzanne's book recommendations. I have a request to hear Suzanne's opinions and recommendations for her favorite knitting books that discuss color theory, color choices for stranded knitting. I know this is not really subject matter of this raglan, but it could possibly pertain to the upcoming yoke knit along that is being planned. I've read the Knitty article here about color and agree that understanding value is extremely important. Are there some knitting books that discuss color choices beyond what is covered in the Knitty article? Yes. So I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. Let me answer some of these questions here. And then this is Joan Miller. Hi. Do you have plans for being available for those who have not cast on? Yes, I will always be available. We'll always be doing these live streams. All of the videos for all of the helping parts are still attached to the pattern. They're there. And in my Ravelry group, we have a page that's frequently asked questions about this cardigan. And so all that information, everything's going to stay. And there are a lot of people who are just now casting on, or aren't planning to cast on until after Christmas. That's fine. Yep, I'll be here. I'm not going anywhere. That's what you get when you pay $25 for a pattern. You get me, and I will help you. I want you to have fun and be successful. Okay, what type of needles do you use? This is Heaven Sent Knits. I really like Haya Haya Sharps and the Gu lace. Their tips are very similar. I just have some Gu. Oh, here's one. So here, let's see. These are the same size. Okay. These are, I think these are a 2. A US 2. It doesn't really matter. They're the same size. The tips are very similar. This is the Gu. The difference is it's a little more concave in here, whereas this one, this is the Haya Haya. It's shaped. Can you see that difference? Not much difference. I also think the drag on the Gu is a little bit more than the Haya Haya. Just a little bit. Not like, I wouldn't want to use one of each in the same project. It would probably change my gauge. But I use these interchangeably as far as my favorites. So the Haya Haya has the blue cable, the Haya Haya Sharps, and the Gu lace weight. I actually got rid of all of my regular point needles. Once I started using Sharps, they make my knitting look so much better. It's unbelievable, the improvement. And I sold all my other needles. I don't even have any. If I find them, I give them to people. I don't want them. Okay, so let me see. Did I miss anybody else's questions? And then we'll talk about the books. Okay, Elaine Mazuka, question, twisted rib sweater cuff, knit through the back loop and purl through the back loop or regular purl. On the cuff, you could do knit through the back loop and a regular purl. If you're going to use that for the shawl collar, I would do knit through the back loop, purl through the back loop. And you could do knit through the back loop, purl through the back loop on the cuff too if you want. It's just personal preference. But on the cuff, unless if you're going to turn it back, you'll want it to have it on both sides the same. So you would do all the stitches through the back loop. But if you're not going to turn your cuff back, really only the ones on the right side need to be twisted, not all of them. Okay. Kathy says $25 an absolute bargain. Thank you, Kathy. So the thing is, you know, a lot of people bought this pattern, and I have no problems whatsoever in giving you all the help that you need. It's exactly what I enjoy doing. Okay, this one, yes. Kathy, question, outer pocket cable continuation looks obvious. Not sure what to do. Let's see, was that one of the questions here? I thought I read that before. Okay. Can you tell me, Kathy, which row? So you finished the front of your pocket. Let's see. Are you talking about the top of the pocket here? Which part of the pocket are you talking about? So there's this part up here where you had the stitches on hold, right? Right here. And that's one place where you would continue the cable. And then the other place where you would continue is after you do the combining row. And if you want to continue your cables down here, which part are you talking about? Roblox Blaster. Who are you? I think you need to go away. I don't think that you're a knitter. Maybe you are. I don't know. What do you knit? Can you tell me what you knit? Thank you. Okay. The CHAOGU lace needles are as pointy as Signature Arts Stiletto Cirques, but CHAOGU have much better cables. So let's talk about those cables. I like both of these for different purposes. So here's the Haya cable, the blue. And here's the CHAOGU cable, the red. The CHAOGU is much more durable, I'm sure. The Haya is much more flexible. See, CHAOGU doesn't want to do that. So I do a lot of my knitting with 2 circulars. I do all of my small diameter knitting using 2 circular needles. If it's not too small, the CHAOGU is okay. But if I'm doing socks, I don't like to knit socks on these CHAOGU cables. But they have a sock set that has little skinny cables, and I bought 2 of those sets, and I will use those. Those red cables are awesome. And they actually come with adapters so that you can use them on the larger needles as well. And this is a fixed needle, so I can't take the cable off. But on the interchangeable sets, if you get they have these new cables that are really much finer than this and are more flexible. See, this isn't very flexible. It's very stiff. This is really flexible. See that? So this works much better for me for small diameter knitting. See, the CHAOGU won't do that. See, it just won't do that. It's too stiff. But the lighter cables are awesome. Okay, let's see. Lorraine Lapolo, do you have any use for straight needles, or do you do everything on circular needles? The reason I have a lot of straight needles. I use them as decoration in my living room. They're in a vase. They're really pretty. And they're all the old Susan Bates and Boy needles. And I love those because people use them to knit. And I've bought them. Some of them were mine. Some of them I bought at secondhand stores, but people use them to knit. So they're like history of knitting type stuff. And I've used those a lot. And I still use them sometimes. Like if I'm knitting a scarf or something like that, they're great. But if I'm knitting a larger project, what I don't like about the straight needles, let me go get one. I'm leaving you again. I'll be right back. Here is my vase of straight needles. So I have a lot of needles in here. So this sits on one of my end tables in my living room. When you have a straight needle and you have a large project, let's say we have 2 of these straight needles, okay? And so we're knitting on our project, knit, and we move it all over. This end starts getting heavier and heavier and heavier, right? And this end gets lighter and lighter and lighter as all the work goes over here. Well, that creates a different torque and affects your gauge. And then you turn and you have all that weight over here and no weight here. And you're slowly, slowly, slowly moving all the weight over to here. Again, it affects your gauge. When you're working with circular needles, and I mostly use 24-inch, I can get a lot of stitches on a 24-inch needle. As you work, the weight is here. It's in the center. So it's always moving around this way, the weight. It's always evenly distributed. Unless you're working a real small project like a scarf, and then it's just on the tips of the needles. But if you're knitting a sweater or anything that's larger, then it's centered. The weight is centered. And so your stitches don't change. Does that answer that? Carol Corcoran. Button underneath, does it need to be same size as the front button? No, I use much smaller needles. You know those ones like on men's shirts, those little itty bitty needles? Itty bitty buttons? That's what I use. They're probably like 3/8 of an inch, half an inch in size. Okay. Yes, okay. Let's see. The top of pocket. Okay, that was Kathy got back. So she's having a problem with the cable transition at the top of the pocket. So if you let me know, it's this one over here. So you have your stitches on hold, and then you picked up your fabric from behind and moved down. So that should, when you put the stitches on hold, you should have just finished a wrong side row, right? I think I'd have to review the instructions. Make sure you do the row that it says, ending with the row that it says in the directions. And then when you start up again, you're starting on the next row. So if you finish with the wrong side row, when you pick up, it should be a right side row. And I think that is correct. Yes. So when you do this section here and you come to here, you should have just finished a wrong side row. You put these stitches on the separate needle, you pick up stitches from the back and work down. Then the very next row needs to be, when you're starting the front of the pocket, it needs to be a right side row. Did you do that? Is that maybe part of the problem? Let's see. And this is Carol. Question. Hi, Suzanne. I am about to start pockets and add ease for hips. Where do I type in a keyword to find answers quickly on your Ravelry group page? Carol, go to when you go over to that Ravelry group, and there's a thing that says search right above where the topics are and the threads. If you go right along there, I don't have my iPad in here, and it says search the group, and you just put a word in, and it'll search for any topic that has that word. So if you're looking for hips would be a good word. Put in there and see what comes up. Right front cable C. Okay, the right front cable C, which one is that? That was, let me pull up my document here and look at it. Right front cable C. Takes a guild. What page is that on, the cable C? Can you tell me? Take 3, that's the last one. Okay, cable C is, sorry, D, C. Okay, front cable C. Okay, I see the one that you're talking about. And which row did you do the crossing on? Okay, this is Catherine Henley. Question. Hi, Suzanne. Do you have any hints for making intarsia cables look good? Mine weren't such a good shape as my single color ones. The hint, yes, I do have some hints. The hints are, look at my basic intarsia video. It's called Intarsia Basics, and we'll link it down below. You can search my YouTube channel for it. Because when you're changing from one color to the other and then coming back and work, it depends on whether the stitches were just on the needle or if they're just below the needle, about how tight you need to pull the yarn when you start making the next stitch. And those little cables, if they're just 2 stitches wide, this can make a big difference. So one stitch can be very small and the other one be very big. So take a look at that, and also my intarsia cable video, which I'm sure you've already looked at, to see if you got help there. Okay, and then she has a second question. Catherine Henley, question, please could you explain why you don't use bobbins or for intarsia cables? Yes, I can. I can't stand untangling them. I've tried baubles, I've tried butterflies. I wrote an article one time on intarsia for Cast On magazine, and I did a ton of research in knitting and experimentation with with bobbins and butterflies versus just having the yarn loose. I find that I can work it faster by just having the yarn loose, and after every couple rows, I pull each strand through. They don't tangle. If you do too many rows, yes, they'll tangle. And I keep my lengths to about 3 feet, 3 or 4 feet. Those pull through easily. That means you need to add new yarn once in a while, or I splice, but it's a lot easier than untangling bobbins. Oh my goodness, I hate doing that. So you can research it too. Just look on Google and search under, intarsia using bobbins or butterflies, and you'll see lots of articles about it. Try it for yourself too. Experiment. Try using baubles, try using butterflies, try using loose strands and see which one you like the best. I've done all that and I decided that I like the loose strands the best. Okay, bye Diana. She has to go. Unexpected company. Okay. Page 17 and row 27. Thank you, Kathy. Row 27. So row 27 is the new row. Row 26 is what you left off, right, on the front cable. Row 26. Oh, while Kathy's answering me, Renee got on and popped on. Yes, when I was teaching, I had a colorwork scarf. That is one of my tutorials that you can buy. I think it's $15, and we go through all the different types of colorwork, so you get to try them all. And when I was teaching that, and that's not an online class. Was it online? Yeah, we did that as an online class. Yeah, we did. Putting the yarn in little baggies. Those little pill baggies that you can get from the pharmacy? Those little itty bitty baggies, or the ones that stitch markers come in sometimes? Those worked good for putting your yarn in, and then you could just pull it out as you go. Those actually worked really good because they're slippery and they slip on each other and don't tangle so much. And you can label them. You can write on the outside of the baggie. We're talking about intarsia in place of bobbins or butterflies. The little pill baggies were awesome. One of my in-person students figured that out. Her name was Patty Schmale, and that was an awesome trick. And jewelry baggies, any of those little itty bitty Ziploc baggies, the ones I'm talking about. Okay, so row 27, and yes, so row 26 was your wrong side row, and then row 27 is your right side row. But you didn't get, what I would do, Kathy, is I would make a little swatch and practice on your little swatch, because it should work out fine. It's just a problem of getting it right for your sweater. You don't want it to look funky right there. But so knit a little swatch, pick up the stitches from behind, kind of like in my video that I show on picking up a fabric from behind. Do a little swatch like that, exactly like that, and practice on that until you get it looking the way you want. I think that's the best thing. So let's see. Let's look at the books I brought out, okay? I cannot believe how fast time goes by when we're doing this. We've been on here for 58 minutes, and it seems like we just started. So the next book up this is by Nancie Wiseman, and it's called Knitter's Book of Finishing Techniques. This is one that you absolutely need to have in your library. I highly recommend it. And again, you can get all these books used on Amazon. You don't have to spend a lot of money. It's not a very big book, but she tells you how to do seaming. It's reflecting here. Let me turn this light off. It still reflects from my screen. Okay, so she goes through, she tells you all the techniques, like how to do knit two together, how to make blended decreases versus full fashion decreases, how to do all the different seaming techniques, knit short row shoulders versus stair step shoulders, all that type stuff. What I really like, for example, here's Picot Cast On. I just chose one out of the blue. She has good pictures. And then over on the side, she says she has benefits and drawbacks. She tells you what it's good for and what it's not good for. I love that. This is another book that you need to read. There's really no patterns in here. It's just all techniques. There's a couple of erratas. You have to look them up and print them out and put them in the book. And it's a standard book to have, just kind of like Nancie Stanley's book that I showed last week. These are like the backbone basic things that you need to know for knitting. Okay, next up is for people who knit sweaters. This is a lady named Janet Szabo. And she wrote this, she self-published it, and you can buy it from her. You can go find her, just Google Janet Szabo. Her company's called Big Sky Knitting. And this is called I Hate to Finish Sweaters Guide to Finishing Sweaters. And this is a really good book. It's just a paper, but it's basic information. It's all the things, the pitfalls that you come across. And again, there's no patterns. But she talks about, for example, on this page right here, she's showing you how to pair decreases so that they lean together. The little things that make a big difference in how you're knitting. She's talking about short rows here. It's just a great book to have for your library. Okay. With her also, Janet, she has this book called Aran Sweater Design. This is awesome for people doing level 3 in the Master Hand Knitting program. This is a must-have book. She talks you through all the steps of making an Aran sweater and all the swatching that you do, figuring out your gauge, what kind of fabric you like, and then how to pair the different cable designs together, what looks good together, and how to figure that out, the width of them versus the where the crossings are. And she walks you through all that, creating an original design. And I find this book to be invaluable. I've used it a lot. And third in her books, another Janet Szabo. These are her only 3 books, but I think they're all great. This is her Cables, Volume 1. She never did do Volume 2. She did all the swatches for it. I've seen the swatches, but she didn't get around to publishing it. But what I love about this cable book is she has them in order of how wide they are. So this is a 1/2 cross. So these are 3-stitch wide cables in this section. All this is 3-stitch wide cables. And then she goes over to 2/1 crosses, and then 2/2 crosses, and then 2/1. And she puts them in that order so that you can pick them by how many stitches you need to fill in. Because when you're designing an Aran sweater and you want to plug in a certain amount of space, you need to fill a gap between some other cables, you need something that's a certain stitch width. And so her book is very convenient for looking things up by the stitch width, which it's really handy. Let's see. Now, this is for Susan Marie. Susan Marie, for color, for Fair Isle knitting, this is the book. Now, there's lots of books on Fair Isle knitting, and there's lots of books on color, but this is Anne Feitelson, and this is the book for learning about color. And I will tell you, we could have a whole hour along just about color. In fact, next time we'll talk more about color, or one time in the future we'll talk about color. What I like here is this is the first book that I learned about value. Let me find the area. See all my page markers at the top? Okay, color. Here she's talking about value. And it took me forever to understand value, even when I read this book. But she shows all the pluses and minuses about it. I highly recommend it. But I took a lot of classes on color because my level 3 sweater, I did a Fair Isle sweater. So I needed to learn about color. And I took a lot of classes on color from a variety of people because I always thought color was the weakest area in my knitting skills. Renee, you're reading my mind. And Renee says, can you show the Janine Bajus book? Yes, I will. I'll show that next. I have it right out here. So, but anyway, I was on a big quest to learn about color before I did my level 3 Fair Isle sweater. And I took a lot of classes at Stitches West, and wherever I could find them, I got every book. I own a lot of books on color and did a lot of online things, and et cetera, et cetera. Then I was at a retreat once, and the instructor there, her name was Janine Bajus. And I went to that retreat, and it was by accident. I mean, I wasn't there specifically for Janine. That's a retreat I go to every year. And that specific year they had Janine, and she does Fair Isle knitting. And what we did was we played with color, and she has you start with an inspiration picture. The inspiration picture is not a picture of a sweater. It's not what you want to knit. Hold on just a second. My daughter is telling me she's got to go to the urgent care. Oh dear. Okay, she fell and hurt her ankle. I have looked at Cheryl Brunetti. That's Kathy asked that. So then I took this class, this retreat with Janine, and what she had us do was start with the inspiration picture. So that was part of the homework before the retreat. So I'm going through magazines, like Better Homes and Gardens and Sunset, and because it's not supposed to be knitting related, so I'm avoiding knitting magazines. And when I went to the doctor, I looked through the magazines at the doctor's office, and I would rip pages out. So I would tear out the pages of things that I just liked, the colors, just something that really appealed to me. And the most amazing thing happened, and I didn't realize it until Janine pointed it out to me. All of my pictures that I had picked had a similar color scheme, and I hadn't even noticed it. All of them. And so you start with that, and your eye will start picking out the colors that you really like. And once you have that, then she has a method for going from the inspiration picture to picking out your yarns and blending them together and trying to come up. So she wrote a book about that. It's called The Joy of Color by Janine Bajus. Fair Isle knitting your way. And because I was one of her students and I used her methods in designing my own sweater, this is me in her book. That's me wearing my sweater. So she has these student breakout sessions in the back of the book where what the students did. And I'm not the only student. There's quite a few students in here who are sharing their work. Here's Karen Ritchie. And we shared our story and how we got to where we were with our sweater. So that's a good book too. And her way, and we can talk more about that. I'm not going to teach you her way because that's her thing, but I can teach you what works for me for color. We can do that over time, and that would be very, very fun. So any other questions? Any other questions? So the next time we'll be on here will be Wednesday at 12 o'clock Pacific time. Post your questions on Ravelry in our group in the questions thread that Delise posted up here earlier. Oh, Pamela, I'm sorry, here's a question. Pamela Matthews, it's not a question, it's a thought. Maybe you could create a page on your Ravelry group for your book recommendations like they have on the TKGA Ravelry group. I could do that, but you know what? Right now, my time is just, there's a lot of things I could and I should do, but I want to knit too. So I love sharing my information with you, but I got to have me time too. So if someone else wants to take these recommendations that I keep talking about and put them together and create that page, they can. I have no problem with that. And I'll slowly go through my library like I'm doing and show you a lot of the books that I have and why I like them. Okay, anybody else have any questions? Vanny from France, nice to catch you live. Yay. Thanks, Pamela, for understanding. I would love if I could split myself into like 5 people because there's a lot of things that I'd really, really, really like to do. And the reason that I share my knitting is because this is how knitting is passed down from generation to generation by one person showing another. It's not something that is private or should be a mystery or hard to find. It should be just out there. And it used to be that way. The way I teach knitting is how people used to teach knitting. It was not by reading a pattern. It was by learning the skills and knowing how to shape the fabric so that the fabric turned into what you wanted it to be. And that's exactly how I teach knitting. So just like we started with a swatch, and then we did our measurements and did our schematic, and then we're knitting the sweater. That's how I teach everything. And if you learn those skills, you can knit anything you want to fit anybody. Okay, Heaven Sent Knits. This is Daisy. This was awesome. Looking forward to Wednesday. Don't forget to share. Give me a thumbs up. And please share my videos, not just these live streams, but share all my little videos on your social media sites. It helps me. I'm helping you. You help me. I want to share my YouTube videos with as many as people as possible. Okay, anything else? Okay, I'm going to go back and knit on my sleeve and get it finished and get the other one started. So there you go. Happy knitting. Talk to you next time.